Hello again, Flosstube! Can you believe it's already the end of July? I am just astounded by how much time has passed, and embarrassed a little bit by how much time has passed since I last spoke with you guys. Although it seems like it's kind of my normal amount of time between videos has been a month. So it has been about a month since my last video, because I remember it was right before my mom's birthday, and I was working on Rainbow Row. Trying to get it finished. I did finish it. That is one thing that I'm going to show you today, and we'll see. I have a lot of other things to share as well, and I have some tags I'm planning to answer, and I have some non-stitching things to share with you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with my works in progresses. My works in progress, work in progresses, I always get confused by those double noun. Is the whole word considered the noun, or is just the first part considered a noun, and in progress is describing the works? What do you think? If you go by the abbreviation WIPs, and then of course you pluralize the end of it, but I don't know. What do you think? You can answer that if you want to. You don't have to answer it. It's not a real question. Just random musings. The first WIP I'm going to share is my Storytime sampler. I finished Peter Pan and I have started The Lady of Shalott, and I have par for the course. I'm running late again, but there's still some days left in July. I may finish it before August comes out. Let me share with you Peter Pan and The Lady of Shalott, what I have done. There is one major change in Peter Pan, well, I guess two major changes. I changed his hair to be ginger. When I played Peter Pan, I used my real hair. So in my head, of course, Peter is a redhead. And I also replaced the mermaid with a crocodile, because the crocodile is one of my other favorite characters of Peter Pan besides Peter himself. I actually collect a little bit crocodile type memorabilia. So it was important and fun for me to add in the crocodile. As you can see, Lady of Shalott, I've got the frame done and I've just started filling it in as well. I will say, I really like the Peter Pan block. I like the pirate ship, and I love that Peter is doing his stereotypical Peter Pan pose, hands on the hips. And I actually really like the Lady of Shalott as well. I'm not going to necessarily support that it is a Storytime classic, but I do really like the original painting it's based on, and I like what they've done to transfer it into this really adorable style. I really like all of the flowers, and I think it's filled in really well. So I'm excited to have her done. I'm really hoping August is not another redhead, because then I'll have 3 redheads in a row, but I guess I can't complain about that. More redheads is always okay with me. My next WIP that I'm going to share is my After the Bath WIP. I got some time to work on this between, once I got Rainbow Row done, I was able to focus on some other things. And I can't bring this one with me anywhere, so it's one that I work on at home only. And I'm about through half a page, so that's kind of exciting. Well, before I show you that, I'm going to show you what it's supposed to look like, because you're not going to be able to tell what it is there. So this is After the Bath. If you don't remember from last time, it's a neo-impressionist painting by a man named Theo van Rijsselberg. And I think it's just beautiful. I really think that this style with the strokes of the paint is going to translate really well to stitching. And so here's what I have so far. It's exciting because this rust color here is something that I can actually recognize from the painting. Let me show you the picture again. I believe that that rust color is the start of this mirror right here. So it's fun to see something developing. And that means that maybe I'll get to be doing blues sometime soon, which would be fun. to get in some new colors. I do like the golds and everything, but as anyone who's done a full coverage design can relate to, I'm sure, when you have like 5 similar colors that are all just a smidge different, sometimes you're like, I'm gonna go crazy. But it's been really fun. I have been parking. Most of the threads I finished out, and I've been traveling this way. So as I park the threads this way. For whatever reason, that's just been easier. So that's after the bath. I'm really pleased with the progress I've made. It's quite a decent sized chunk finished there, and it'll be really exciting when I get my first page done. The next whip I'm going to share with you is my epic Generation 1 Pokemon cross stitch, which is the cross stitch that includes all of the first generation of Pokemon in one stitch. I went ahead and grabbed a picture of the finished design to remind everyone what it will look like eventually. Hopefully you can see that okay. Last time I don't think it worked very well. So I'm going to get a little closer. So another BAP. My after the bath I consider a BAP, and this I consider a BAP as well. I'm stitching the Pokemon in order, individually, kind of as each its own separate finish. So I finished one more, and that is Ivysaur. Bulbasaur is this little guy in front, who I finished during Stitch Mania, and Ivysaur is his evolution. And then after this it'll be Venusaur, and then I'll have the first evolution line finished. These guys are actually some of my favorite Pokemon. Back when the first game came out, you have 3 choices for your first Pokemon, and I always picked Bulbasaur, so it's fun to get to stitch them. And it's interesting because the colors on both of these I thought were kind of weird when I put them all next to each other, but finished and stitched up, they look very nice. I'm kind of excited to work on this. Maybe I'll work on it after I get done with this video. To add in Venusaur. He's going to take a while though, he's pretty big. Those are the only whips I've gotten work done on besides my Rainbow Row, which is finished, and I have another project that I finished. It is an FFO. I'll show it to you after Rainbow Row. You may be wondering, wasn't that a birthday present for your mom? Why do you still have it? Well, I still have Rainbow Row because one, I didn't finish. I finished it the day after my parents left. Technically, it was still finished before my mom's birthday, but it was after she left New York. So I didn't get to give it to her, but she told me to go ahead and keep it and bring it next time I visited them, so that we could go to the framers and pick out a frame and mat and everything together. So excuse the fold lines, but here's Rainbow Row finished. I guess I'll do a full shot, hopefully. There are 9 total little houses, and she really liked it. She actually had this big painting in this kind of dated old gold frame that she had got of Rainbow Row back when we lived in South Carolina, and she said she feels that maybe now she can finally let that go because she has a replacement. I didn't mean for it to work that way, but I'm glad that she views it that way. It makes me feel like she, you know, she likes it enough. She's finally giving up that giant, it's a huge painting, and the frame is just, it's just outdated, and they just moved to a sleek condo, and so I think she's okay with that. I'm glad I could help her make that decision, I guess. And this may be my most exciting part of the video, or the most exciting for me. I finished the second version of my Hot Stuff design, the Sriracha pattern that I stitched up earlier this year for my roommate. I got a cross-stitch design program on my computer, redesigned it. I replaced the Sriracha rooster with a dragon of my own design, and as well as a text that I had found free. I changed just to feel like everything was completely original and to avoid any copyright issues in the future. And I finished stitching it, and I framed it. So this is my only FFO for this month. So here is the new Hot Stuff. As you can see, I have a little dragon. I thought a dragon fit because it's hot sauce and dragons breathe fire. And this cursive text was changed as well from the first iteration of the design. The reason this is so exciting is because, if you remember, I was considering selling the pattern once I got it made up, and it is now on my Etsy store. I actually already have an Etsy store. It's called Ingleside Imaginarium, INGLESIDE, space IMAGINARIUM. It's very long. I'll put a link in the description for this video, but I sell a different type of art on there, and I thought I'd use the same brand and the same shop for my cross-stitch patterns. And so my very first cross-stitch pattern is in my Etsy store. You're welcome to check it out. I don't expect any of you to buy it, but I just wanted to share it because it could be the beginning of something very exciting for the future with designing more patterns. I think I mentioned before that I want to do some more condiments in kind of the same style so that it could be a series, and this is going to hang in my kitchen. I'm excited to put it up, and my roommates so far have been, all of the ones I've spoken to about it have been positive about it as well, so hopefully they don't mind because I want to have it up somewhere I can see it. It was not as fun stitching it the second time around. I'm sure people who have stitched things more than once know that, especially the bottle. I mean, it's a big chunk of that rust color, so it wasn't a chore, but at the same time it wasn't as exciting because I wasn't stitching it for someone as a gift. That always makes me more exciting, or more excited, a project more exciting, and but it's done. And it looks really nice. I'm very pleased with it. My hot stuff pattern is not the only pattern that I finished since I last spoke with you. These are not stitched, but they are designed. I wanted to share them with you. This one was inspired by the Coffee Stitcher and his love for Carol Channing. It is Carol Channing as the White Queen in Alice in Wonderland. If you have not looked it up, there is this insane video of Carol Channing as the White Queen, and she sings this number called Jam Tomorrow, Jam Yesterday, but Never Ever Jam Today. So I guess I don't know what the title of the song is. Jam Tomorrow maybe, but that's what the pattern says. It says Jam Tomorrow, Jam Yesterday, but Never Ever Jam Today. And so I stitched it because I think it's hilarious and wanted to just try and experiment with stitching somebody, a person, and this is the result. The other pattern that I stitched designed is something I'm planning to stitch for my future brother-in-law. My sister is engaged, and her fiance's birthday is in September, and he really likes John Deere. He has a John Deere collection, and so I took an old vintage John Deere advertisement poster thing and translated it into hand translated it into a cross-stitch pattern. It says only John Deere quality farm equipment used here. And if either of those patterns interest you, I am most likely going to be formatting them into a just like a picture that can be saved, and making them freebies on a to be determined blog platform. I have a Tumblr, maybe it will be on there, but I know what do a lot of you use? Actually, that's a good question. If you run a stitching blog, what blogging platform do you use or suggest that I use as maybe a blog for my stitching pattern making business? Would love your suggestions. That is all of my updates, I think, as far as my actual stitching, I believe. So it is now time to get started with the tags. I'm going to do 2 tags today that I've seen going around. I'm going to do the Teresa tag, and I'm going to do the Stash Enhancement tag. The Teresa tag is by Teresa Little Stitcher, and the Stash Enhancement tag is by the Stash Queen. And I'll go ahead and get started with Teresa's tag first. Her first question is if the seasons affect your stitching or the amount of stitching you get done, and I would probably say no, not really. Maybe the only reason is because summer, spring, fall, you spend more time outdoors, whereas in the winter it's so cold you don't go outside and do things as much. I kind of spend the same amount of time outside as I do year-round, especially when I'm living here, because most of the time I am outside it's traveling or walking, which I'm not stitching anyway. So I would say no as the answer to the first question. The second question is if you use a lap stand, a floor stand, or if you stitch in the hand. I'm looking over there at the questions, which is why you keep seeing my eyes dart over there. But the answer to the stand question, I don't have any stands, so I stitch everything in hand, which leads into the next question, which is if you use a hoop, a Q-snap, or nothing, you just stitch in hand with the fabric. I use a Q-snap most of the time, but I do use the little kind of metal spring action hoops for smaller projects that won't fit in my Q-snap. This is my smallest Q-snap. I believe that's the 8x8. So a lot of the individual Pokemon stitches that I've done don't fit in there. So I actually have one right here. One of these hoops. For whatever reason I like it better than the ones that have the two separate pieces that you screw in. I think because I'm always worried that the other ones will slip off, whereas this nests into this plastic ring pretty well, and so I think it stays on better. For whatever reason I'm just nervous about using the other kind, thinking that it would slip off of itself. So yes, Q-snaps and some hoops. The next question is if you have a stitching light. If you do, is it a floor or a clip-on light? I do have a light. Do I use it? Actually, I haven't really been using it, but I have one, and it is not a floor or a clip-on. It is actually a desk-style lamp, and it's stashed right behind my pillows right now. I showed it off before, but this is the desk lamp I got. It was on sale at Michael's, and it has a bendable arm that you can bend anyway, and it has a varying degree of brightness, which is kind of cool. You hold it down to dim it or to brighten it, and it's got a little touch base to turn it on, which is pretty cool. I put it behind my pillows with the intention, this is my stitchy spot as well, that I would use it, but I tend to just use that lamp back there, and I've been fine. The next question is, do you use any magnifier while you stitch? I don't. Do you stitch one-handed or two-handed? Because I don't have any stands at all, I have to stitch one-handed. So I hold my hoop or Q-snap in this hand and stitch one-handed. So poke it in, pull it through, poke it in, pull it through. Do you prefer to stitch alone, or do you prefer to stitch with other people in a family room or other type of situation? I don't really have a preference. I can stitch in either atmosphere. When I'm at home or visiting family or friends and I have my cross stitch with me, if it's a situation that it's appropriate to cross stitch in, I will cross stitch around everyone else, but I definitely don't mind cross stitching alone either. What is my preferred fabric and preferred count of that fabric? I would probably say that I enjoy even weave fabrics the most in probably 32 count. So like for example, my Storytime sampler is stitched on a 32 count Lugana, and I think that's pretty close to what I like. I like the look of small stitches. I don't know that I would care to stitch all the time on anything smaller than 32, but 28 for me feels like, it just feels a little big, as would then 14 count Aida. My Pokemon cross stitch is on 18 count Aida, and I do like that as well. The next question is if I have ever lost my stitchy bug and how did I get it back, if I did. I would say I haven't lost my stitchy bug. I get involved in other crafts enough that I think I'm always excited to start stitching again when I have the time. And I think a good way for me, what makes me excited, I did it again, what makes me excited to stitch after not having stitched or starting a new project is making something for someone else, because it gets me excited to know that I'm doing something I love for someone I love, and hopefully they will appreciate it. It makes it exciting, and the idea of surprising them with it is always really fun. And the last question on Teresa's tag is one that I feel like I can add a meaningful, hopefully, answer to, or I guess what I mean is an answer from someone who this applies to. She asks, do you travel and stitch, and do you travel and stitch on public transportation? I can say yes to both of those questions. As far as just generally traveling and stitching, I take my stitching with me to the airport and on airplanes. I have tried taking it in cars before. I get a little motion sick, I can't do that. However, I have been able to stitch successfully on like a megabus, which is a big double-decker bus, like a Greyhound type thing. Maybe I've never been on a Greyhound, but I imagine a bus would be okay. Now, as far as public transportation goes, I can say yes, I do stitch on public transportation almost every day. As I mentioned in a previous video, my current commute is about an hour, sometimes more than an hour, so I bring my stitching on the subway with me. I have found that if I have a place to sit, then stitching is a good way to pass that time. And I actually got most of this pattern, my hot stuff pattern, done while on the subway. One of the things that has been indispensable for subway stitching is the fact that I bought a while ago, when I first got back into stitching, a project bag to keep all of my stitching supplies in. It keeps it all in one place, and this bag goes inside kind of a knapsack, backpack, whatever you want to call it, a drawstring bag that I bring with me. Kind of my everyday work / travel survival kit. It has my water bottle in it, it has my sketchbook in it, it has a pencil pouch with some pencils in it, my umbrella, and it's something I bring with everywhere. And this bag slides right into the back, kind of gives me a little cushion as well, and everything I need goes into this bag. My 8x8 Q-snap fits really well into the bag. My scissors fit in, the floss I need for the project will fit in, the pattern, a lot of times a working copy will get folded and put in, and it's just been very, very useful. Before I bought this, I used just like a plastic Ziploc bag, a gallon-sized bag, and the scissors would poke through, the needles would poke through, it'd be all crinkly and noisy, so I think this is a great investment, a durable, quality project bag. Mine, this adorable cat project bag, was from So Much to Love on Etsy. That's sew as in sewing, SEW MUCH number 2 LUV, So Much to Love. I'll put her link in the video description. She has, I was just looking at her Etsy store today in preparation for this video. She has like 100 different styles of project bags to choose from, some bigger, some smaller, all different adorable colors and adorable fabrics, and it's just, it's so durable. Not once have I seen a stray thread on this or a thread that has come loose. My mom spilled wine on this, and the project inside was kept safe from the red wine, and the trim here is adorable. This little felt heart zipper pull is adorable, and it's just, it's cute. You know, I pull this out on the subway, I don't know, maybe people see it and think, oh, that's cute. But I have gotten compliments on this. So I highly suggest you check out her Etsy store if you're looking for a project bag. I can speak for the quality. It's really, really nice. And so that has helped me while stitching on public transportation. I only stitch if I have a place to sit down, so that I'm not like stitching and then fall over if the train hits a bump or whatever. And it goes pretty well for me. I don't get motion sick. I don't find that people give me weird looks. I've even had fellow stitchers come up to me and, you know, initiate conversation based on the fact that they saw me stitching and wanted to know, oh, what is that? What are you stitching? Did you make it up? You know, that kind of thing. And those moments, like on a subway in a city as big as New York, where you can connect with the person that you'll probably never see again, are just kind of fun. And that comes about from stitching on the subway. Who'd have thought? That's the last question on the Teresa tag, and the next tag is going to be the Stash Enhancement tag. I hope you guys are ready for a long video, because I think I'm pretty close to 20 minutes at this point. So here we go. Another tag, yahoo! So next up is the Stash Queen's Stash Enhancement tag. Her first question is, what is your favorite pattern that you have not stitched, and why haven't you stitched it? This is actually a little tricky for me because most of the patterns I have, I started as part of Stitch Mania because I don't have a lot of stash. I am bit by bit accumulating stuff, which is scary in this tiny room, but I had to think about this, and I ended up having forgotten about a digital pattern I purchased a while ago when I first got back into cross-stitching. And the reason I remembered this was because Stitch Mania is having an August ABC stitch along, which is anything to do with letters or words. And I remembered that I had a pattern for the biggest word you've ever heard. And this is how it goes. This is actually the picture from the Etsy store where I bought it. It is a Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious cross stitch. I saw this a while ago and thought it was just the most adorable stitch, and downloaded it and saved the file and kind of forgot about it. But here it is. I am going to start it in August. It actually works out perfectly. It's by Fiddlesticks Designs. You can find it on Etsy if you look up Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link to her Etsy store in my description as well. I just love the colors. I love that it's kind of that shape. And I actually have a friend who loves Mary Poppins that I'm going to make this as a birthday present for. And her birthday is in August. What did I say? Perfect timing, right? The next question is, what is your favorite non-pattern object? And I kind of already addressed that in this video. I really like my project bag. I also really like my stork scissors. I think they're adorable. I thought I lost them and I was so sad. But then I found them. Yahoo! What stash do you have the most of? That's hard for me to say because I still feel like I don't really have a lot of anything. I guess floss. I have technically I guess 3 floss boxes full of floss, so is that a lot? I don't know. Compared to so many other floss tubers, I feel like I don't have that much. Besides your LNS or the big box stores, where do you buy your stitching supplies? I get most of mine from 123 Stitch. I think that their customer service is great. I was able to exchange a fabric that didn't look quite right back to them and get the new one sent here. And their shipping is surprisingly speedy. I think they get it shipped out pretty quickly, and it gets from, what is it, Utah all the way here really fast as well. I know that if I place an order with them, I usually have it within a week. So 123 Stitch I think is great. They have a wonderful selection, and as far as I'm aware, the prices are decent as well. Next question, one item you have purchased not meant for cross stitch that you have repurposed. This is kind of a stitching update too, that goes along with this question. The other day I was at Michael's and decided, after working on my Pokemon stitch and not being able to find any of the colors I needed, though I knew I had them, I bought 2 new Stash floss boxes and put all of my floss into them in order. So now that I have 2 boxes, and you're like, but Brittany, those are meant for stitching. That doesn't count for this question. No, it doesn't. But what is inside does. As you can see, all of these flosses are bobbinated, and I'm going to see if I can find a good one. What makes my bobbins unique, I guess, is that I'm kind of cheap, and all of my bobbins, most of my bobbins at this point, are made out of cereal boxes. So, for example, this one used to be a Fruit Loops box. This is Going on Adventure. I think this is probably Tony the Tiger's fingers from some Frosted Flakes. Here you can see more Fruit Loops. And here are some nutritional facts for Honey Nut Cheerios. They're kind of just, they're the right thickness, and you can cut them into strips and just, you know, it's an easy homemade way to get bobbins. I think that's kind of a fun answer. Cereal boxes made into bobbins. The next question is one item which was enabled to you by seeing another stitcher with it. That's a tricky one, I guess. I did just buy the Sing a Sampler series. I saw Garrett had it, and before him there was another stitcher on Flosstube who I saw has it, and as a musical theater nerd, of course I had to order it, and it's actually on its way here now. I'll show it to you in the next stitch video. Is there anything else? I guess Storytime Sampler, in a way, I bought it right when it came out, but the reason I bought it was because I had seen so many people working on Once Upon a Time Sampler last year. My After the Bath was kind of, in a roundabout way, enabled by Lindy Stitches. She showed off her full coverage painting that she had purchased on Etsy. I looked through that store, didn't see anything I liked, but then looked at some paintings and made After the Bath into a pattern using Pick-to-Pat. So that one kind of too. My Mirabilia was enabled because of the stitch-along that Mrs. Milky Bar Kid put up. But other than that, I don't think so. If you can think of something, call me out on it, because I'd be curious what I forgot. The next question is one must-have pattern, and that I don't really have an answer for. I like all of my patterns, but it's none of the, I don't know. I really like the Epic Pokemon cross-stitch, but if you don't like Pokemon and if you don't know what they are, then I don't think everyone should have it. The Storytime Sampler is really cute. It has a lot of classic stories on it, some nice colors, and you can kind of make your own personalization on it, which is nice. I suppose there's room to make it your own. And if you don't make it your own, it also looks absolutely amazingly adorable. The original way it was designed, too. I guess that's my answer. I don't really have one. I'm sorry to disappoint all of you looking to enhance your stash, but I don't necessarily have one. I can't answer this last question, though, and that is one designer that I would suggest you check out to enhance your stash, and that would be, I've talked about her before, but Casey Buonaugurio. Buonaugurio? I'm so sorry, Casey, if you ever watch these, that we all butcher your last name. But I only have one pattern by her, and it's the Chocolate Bunny Sampler. There is only one specialty stitch in this. It's stitched on, I got a 32 count, and it's just the tiniest, most adorable little sampler. I started in Stitch Mania. The eggs that you see here are only like that big. And all of her other food samplers are just adorable. The colors are great. The design of the food itself is adorable. So I would suggest her. In fact, I would say probably her stitch style in a way probably inspired my hot stuff pattern. I think that is all for the Stash Enhancement tag. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing me ramble. This video is not quite over yet. Speaking of my Etsy store earlier, I'm sure if you go there you're going to see some things that you're kind of like, what are those? And I'm going to go into them. This does not have to do with cross stitch, so if you want to stop the video right now, you're welcome to. I'll see you next time. But if you do want to, if you're curious about what I'm talking about and you'd like to see another form of art that I enjoy, you're welcome to keep watching. So I wanted to take the time to share with you guys something that has been a part of my life for the last 2 years. It's what my Etsy store was open to sell, and those are my posable, decorative, collectible artist dolls. They're all handmade. They are all fantasy creatures that incorporate, well, most of them are all fantasy creatures that incorporate a floral element to them. I call them weedlings. And if you go to my Etsy store, you can see some pictures on there, but I thought I would share some of them with you. The first one I'm going to show you is the first one that I ever made. My favorite tree is a silver maple, so he is my silver maple dragon. He is completely handmade. His head and feet are sculpted and painted by myself. And what's neat about all of these critters that I'm going to show you is they all have wire in them, so you can pose them however you want. If you want them to look a certain way, or if you want them to be sitting instead of standing up, you can have them sitting. He was my first, and so he will stay with me always, but most of the other ones that you see on this video today are for sale or will be for sale soon. The way that I make these is I sculpt the head and the feet. Generally are the hard parts of the doll. They have a wire skeleton inside, which makes them all posable. They are wrapped in batting to be nice and plushy, and then I hand stitch and hand cut a pattern that I draft myself out of fake fur. And so they're just kind of a, you know, a collectible, a cool display item for your home, I guess. And when I'm not performing, it's a great way to kind of fulfill that creative urge that I have, and I'm sure all of you guys have as stitchers too. So this is my silver maple dragon. I think he's quite adorable, and he's very special to me as he was one of my very first dolls that I ever made. Another example, a little bigger, of one of my dolls is this horse. And I thought it was a good idea to make a horse, but horses are hard with their very long spindly legs. It was hard to figure out a way for him to support himself. But as you can see, he has a sculpted head, sculpted and hand painted, and sculpted hooves. His tail is made out of a yarn fiber brushed out, so it's very soft and fluffy. His wings are made out of fake leaves, and they are slightly posable, as are his ears. And I'm very proud of this one. I think he turned out really nice. I love the cream color with the blue accent touches. Another example of one of my dolls is this tiny, I call it a saber-toothed kitten. But as you can see, I'm posing her. She was on my shelf and peeking over a picture frame, so she was posed like this. But very easily, you can adjust her to standing on her 4 legs, and very easily you can adjust her to sitting down, and she can look every way you'd like her to. think she's very cute. I also, one of my favorite dolls that I've made, it was a series of little birds, little flower birds. And these ones were originally sculpted, but what's neat about them is I actually made a mold and cast them in plastic. So this guy's actually made out of plastic, which means he's very durable, shouldn't break. He's hand painted and then hand sewn. I think he's pretty adorable. Birdie bud, I love it. And then one of my newest guys is this kind of digger looking critter. He has armor plates on his back, flower petals coming off the back of his head and his tail. And he is also fully posable, so if you want to pose him in a different way, you can. He looks kind of funny like that, so I don't know that you'd want to, but if you, for example, wanted to maybe have him laying down, crossing his hands, you could do something like that. The tail is posable. But yeah, if you saw my room, you would see a lot of these critters on the wall that I have just in storage until hopefully they sell someday on Etsy. And I hope you've enjoyed looking at them. They're very special to me. It's another art form that I enjoy and I wanted to share with you guys. And in fact, I'm working on a few of them right now. If you follow my Instagram, you've seen them. They are these tiny little dinosaurs. Tiny little fluffy dinosaurs, I love them. So for example, here's T-Rex. All of these ones that I'm showing you now, Stegosaurus, don't have their flower accents on yet. That's what I have to do next, so they're still works in progress. This is Raptor, a Velociraptor, a Brachiosaurus, and Triceratops. They all are posable. They're smaller, so their range of motion isn't quite as big. And the theropods, the front legs, are not posable, only the back legs and the head and tail. And then Spinosaurus is complete. As you can see, Spinosaurus has his flower touches on. He has a leaf for a sail, and he has flower petals lining the bottom of his head and tail. And his head moves. You can move the tail up and down a little bit, and then his feet move too. So if you would like, if you want him to be sitting down, he can sit down just like that. I'm hoping this video turns out well and you get a good look at some of the details. If you want to see more detailed photos of almost all of these creatures, you can see them on my Etsy store, where that I mentioned earlier, Ingleside Imaginarium. I hope you've enjoyed seeing them. I was kind of nervous and excited to share them with you guys, because it's just, you know, a different part of my creative life that hopefully you will enjoy as well. I believe that's all. This video is certainly long enough, and hopefully I'll get back to you in at least another month, if not before then. So happy stitching to everyone. Thanks for listening to all of my rambling, and thanks for all of the likes and comments and subscribes. I'm trying to make sure I reply to everyone who comments on my videos, and I've enjoyed watching your videos, and I think I'm getting very close to 500 subscribers, and so I'm thinking about having a giveaway and including some kind of stitchy prize, and maybe also a critter if you're interested in having a critter. Let me know what you think, if that would be something you're interested in receiving in a giveaway, and hopefully I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye!